Call the meeting to order. First thing to do is to act on the agenda. Do we have anything else to add?
Make a motion to accept the agenda as written.
A second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Act on the minutes of October 9.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
No public comment.
Is this gentleman looking for public comment?
Charlie, did you have public? No.
Oh,
No, I was
He's highway.
just here, just,
oh, you're just,
yeah, if
okay.
you guys were gonna hit on some of the reclassification stuff.
Okay, so no public comment, doesn't look
No.
like.
New business. Municipal Technical Assistance Program.
We received an email about this program. It sounds like it's being geared toward rural towns that don't have a lot of money, budgeted money to do different things like hire a grant writer or what are some of the other examples they used, Chris? Getting the zoning regulations updated, just different things like that. So we fitting into that category that it's being geared toward or being encouraged to apply for the grant. I have not been able to reach Tom Kennedy, who apparently is our contact person at the Regional Planning Commission. Their emails have been down for a couple of weeks. But they said the first step was to have the select board adopt, how do they word it, Chris? Adopt a resolution to accept the grant.
Something like that.
Sorry, I meant to print that program out.
Wait, excuse me, is this different from the grant? Didn't we get a grant to redo the zoning regulations, or this is the same thing?
No.
Nope, this is a whole,
This is a different
another thing, right.
And
it's
can we
another-
use both? If we needed to? Would we be able to?
I don't see
or is it
why
one or
not.
the other? Because this is it spans other things than just.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
How much is the grant for, do you know?
they didn't say, they don't have a lot of details, they just have this money that's earmarked for this particular.
Do you have to say what you're gonna use it for when you're applying? You just kinda have it?
No, I think, and again, I'd have to talk to Tom Kennedy for more details, it depends what the application looks like.
But right
So,
now, we just need to.
I don't know if we have to identify what we need. One of the things I'm sorry, go ahead.
You say they really didn't give a lot of specifics in the.
It's really early on, I think they just wanted to make sure that when everything was in place, that the towns that is particularly geared toward were on board and ready to accept the money once they figure out all the details of what the application looks like, what kind of a timeline we're talking about. I would say if nothing else, I don't know if it's the Regional Planning Commission we would pay, but I know there are all kinds of grants out there that we just don't have time to look for or know about, so maybe it's
And grant writers, if we could get a grant
Right.
writer. it'd be
paying
great.
to have someone write all of those for us and keep track of them and so we can keep moving. I mean, I have an unprecedented number of grants on my desk at the moment. And keeping track of any more is gonna be pushing my limits.
Can you use it for, kind of unquantifiable, like projects like community development, like community events and stuff, or is it?
I don't think she knows yet.
Yeah, you don't know.
Right now, we just need to
Okay,
adopt.
so we could move to accept it, but we could also give the money back if we can't figure out how
Or
to
not
use it.
apply for it.
Or not apply. So I would make a motion to adopt the resolution
Yeah.
and take a look at it.
I second.
Why not?
Yeah, and if we
Grant,
can't
grant's
do
a grant.
anything with
Right, or
it,
if we
then
don't.
we can.
Yeah. Any discussion?
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Further discussion?
Oh.
I guess it just depends on what kind of winter we have.
So, just in terms of timeline, the next meeting, which is on November 13th, we need to be at the budget process.
Wow.
Because we have 5 meetings until I have to get the town report off to the printer.
Wow.
Maybe at some point it becomes worthwhile to do the budget part as a supplement to the town report, and we have to mail it separately or something to give you all more time. Because it does feel rushed when you're barely halfway through the year coming up with numbers for next year. But just sort of FYI, that's where we're at. So I'll keep updating those, and we'll do what we did last year in terms of processes. You know, each meeting, particularly in December and the first meeting in January, maybe we call a special meeting that's just budget work.
Yeah.
Once we have an idea of where we are halfway through the year, to start putting numbers in all those spots.
So we have not gotten any money back around the FEMA stuff yet. I'm just, so on the final page, the total, I'm just looking at the total expense right now, 6 months in, is at $919,000. And our budget was for $1,066,178, so. But FEMA should offset a pretty good chunk.
So if you look on page, I think it's on page 4.
Right, the flood.
Yep, so that's what has come out of the general fund, which is what, 300 and?
Yeah.
So you want,
So when we do get FEMA money, the first place I will put it back is that bank account. So, and then work our way backwards, so first that
Right.
bank account, so it shows in this budget that we've got some income back from that.
Right.
So those numbers,
That'll take it
that,
back
the
to
bottom
6
line will start to look better.
Right, 600,000.
Right, so
that
we'll get
point,
back to
mhm.
there, then any money beyond that will go back into the highway bridge fund, tax stabilization fund last.
Do we have any timeline on when we might?
They don't tell us anything.
Nothing at all.
Our initials, so category B, which was the initial emergency work, which I think the total on that was only $45,000 or so 75% of that. That has gone through most of the processes, and I would expect in another couple of weeks. How did Hector describe it, Chris? He said it had gone through all the departments it needed to go through. There was one more thing that needed to happen in the next 10 days. Then some kind of notification goes to the state of Vermont, and the state of Vermont
Mason check.
writes the check. So,
But that's just for that initial class of emergency.
yep, and then comes the Cat A, and that wasn't very much money, and it's been a lot of work documenting that. That was only $10,000 to $12,000, and that was the, what do you mean you took a stump out of the river? Where did the stump come from? Where did the tree go? Where did the stump go? You need to label every stump and tell
What
us where
kind
it
of tree?
went,
What
and what kind of tree was it?
Measurement.
Really?
And how
Wow.
far out of the ground were the roots, and
God.
and I said, we had stumps in the road, we picked them up and we moved them,
Right.
and we put them in a stump dump, here's a picture of it.
And coordinates.
And the coordinates, GPS coordinates, in case anybody wants to go look for it. So that one has been a little frustrating. Category C, which are the big ones, I've submitted everything for Middletown Road, and just finalizing, so when we did the initial damage inventory, we were told to call out all the culverts and gave all this information about the culverts. Well, what that turns into for the costs and invoices and all of those things are, I have to go through every invoice, and I can't just write that Crown Point charged us $12,000 to do this, and this. If there's any culvert work, I have to pull that out and put it on a separate line item. So now I'm sorry that we did all that,
Right.
even at their direction, because it's just that much more pulling at really small threads for the same amount of money, realistically. So Middletown Road's been submitted, just finalizing, answering some last questions. It'll go through the same process. There are like 5 departments it needs to go through. From what we saw of the category B stuff, with so many other places having such larger amounts of damage and money, I was afraid we'd end up under a microscope for all of that. I don't see how they could possibly have time to keep us and all of these little things for us under such a microscope, because they have to do that for everybody, and it would take them forever to ever get this done. So I'm more optimistic than I was. So Middletown Road's been submitted. I just have to answer questions. We meet with Hector tomorrow morning, and then he's on vacation for a week. I'm in the process of finalizing the questions that I have to put in the portal, and then the spreadsheet that goes with it for Schmidt Road, because that one was over or about $200,000.
Wow.
So I wanna get that one submitted by itself so that it goes through the pipeline and gets in process again. So I'm doing them kind of a little at a time so we can hopefully get some money going. I think, I don't know yet, I might pull out North Hill separately and Lovejoy Brook separately, or I might just do all the rest of them all together, because most of the vendors separated everything by road, none of the materials vendors did, contractors. And so trying to find 8 loads of SurePack on such and such a date is a painful process. So I might just take every single timesheet that the guys submitted and do this long spreadsheet of every day they worked, how many hours, how much overtime, and not have to say by what road they did it. So it's just submitted, and then do the same thing for all of our equipment every day, how many hours, doesn't matter what road. Because in the long run, it's gonna save me running back and forth for one spreadsheet for one road.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
No, you're doing phenomenal.
So that's where we're at.
Nuts.
Right.
So looking at that though, that 919,000, that's without that 321,000 of flood. So if we took, I know it doesn't really matter, but in my mind, I'm thinking if the flood hadn't happened, we took that money out of there, we'd be at about, at this point in our budget, we'd be at about 598,000. Approximately.
Well, that includes the money that was taken out of the tax stabilization and the bridges and highway
No,
fund.
those are actually separate. The 300 that you see there is just what came out of the general
But
fund.
she's talking about the 919
Right,
total
I'm just
has
saying.
all of that expenditures in it, correct?
Right, yeah, so it would
Well-
actually be, we'd be more than that.
The main concern is making back up that 300
Right.
from the general
What
fund,
came out of the
which
bank account.
Right.
we have, depending on the winter, what's that, February, we need that back in there? If that's
At the latest.
at the latest,
Yeah.
that's what I'm thinking, like at the latest, if there's a mild winter, if not, it's gonna be more like January 1st, it's gotta be back in there. So we have to keep an eye on what comes back in.
Right.
Which of those first category 1 and 2, or however you said it, sorry,
Yeah, no,
those will
category
help.
B and A.
Yeah.
That'll help a little bit. It'll put a little bit of money in there. Not that it's a great option, but one of the things that I floated by Chris was the pinch is going to be, we collect education taxes as for November 1st, and our first installment to the state is due December 1st or December 30th, I don't remember which. In December. And I will look and see what the penalty will be for paying that late. Because honestly, I don't know that we can let go of $700,000 to the state when we've got so many other bills to pay that until we start really getting some FEMA money, it's gonna be tough to pay.
And is all the FEMA money gonna come in at 75%? Or is some of it gonna come in at?
As far as I understand,
There
yeah.
was one, we had an email that says it was like 82.5% or 87.5% way back, but I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen
number,
that
yeah.
either. I will say, I looked at the we talked about the new interim rules for the ARPA fund. And it sounds like, from what I read, that we might be able to use, so FEMA's gonna make up 75% of the cost, the other 25% is supposed to come out of our general fund. We might be able to use the ARPA fund for that, so then that would show as an income offset in the budget also, which would also be a huge help.
That's still not gonna make up that 25% though. So out of 7, we're over 700 now in flood.
Yeah.
So that tax
Right.
stabilization probably is not gonna be replenished. I mean, I already see that as that's gonna have to go towards that 25% offset, which was just over 50,000, correct?
Well, we shouldn't be trying to figure out how to spend our ARPA money then, for sure.
And I did find out I don't know if I found out before the last meeting, we don't have to obligate that money until December of 2024, so there's no hurry, so we
okay.
can sit back and wait and see how all this
Oh,
plays
Shakes
out.
out.
Oh, okay.
That'll be
So they
great.
changed that, well,
And we don't, so as long as we obligate it by December of 2024, and then you don't actually have to spend it until December of 2026. But if we are able to and end up using it for this, it'll be spent before then anyway.
Right,
You know, the fund in the state was supposed to pay 12.5%. Is that at one point we were talking about that?
See, that's where I think that number came from, 75 and 12.5%,
Right.
7.5%, right?
And I don't remember what that was.
I saw that way back and I
Wonder who to
haven't
ask.
seen any
I haven't heard about it since.
emails like that. But I think
And
maybe it was you and I that were talking about it.
And I don't know, so Weston Andover Road is considered a federal highway, so that's a whole other money reimbursement thing, and I have no idea what that program is.
I don't know.
I don't have a clue. I just started submitting invoices and timesheets to her, and I don't know anything about that program.
well, that sounds like your job got really wild this year, is all I can say.
It did get a little wild.
Still is.
yeah, I was gonna say, I bet it still is, yeah. So it would be nice if we could get a grant that could maybe give you a little assistance in writing grants.
Yeah,
We're looking
Right.
into grants.
Even just administering
and-
some
Right, any of that.
grants and
Yeah.
Yeah,
contracts
that would
or
be-
anything. We did,
sounds like it's really needed.
the grant that paid for half of the 2 generators has come through. I believe the money's gone to the bank, so that is all set. So we got 23,000 and spent, the rest came out of the ARPA fund, so that project is finished. We have a mini grant to pay for, it's gonna pay for half of the ADA assessment that we need to have done, so the gentleman who's doing that is coming tomorrow, so he'll do the ADA assessment. And that is used for the municipal energy resilience grant, which in the long run will identify and help pay for energy improvements to ideally all 3 buildings, if that's what we get accepted for. That is still in the works, those applications have, that whole process slowed way down, I'm not sure why. But, so that's where we are with, as long as we get the ADA assessment, we don't have to do everything. They tell you what things you could do to bring you to compliance, as long as you work toward compliance, then it doesn't work against you for the energy resilience grant. You can use up to 20% of the energy resilience grant to pay for things that will bring you into ADA compliance. And
Is there a time frame that or are they gonna say, well, this is what we wanna see you do, and this is the time frame that you have to have it done? Or is it just, this is what we wanna see
No,
you
the
do,
ADA
and,
compliance thing is around the grant, and they said they aren't putting parameters on doing all of it.
Mhm.
All they're saying is, show us some improvement, show us that
Yeah.
you made an effort to bring some things into compliance.
Okay.
Within the limits of, the 20% of that other grant. And I assume the gentleman who's doing the assessment can help us prioritize,
Mhm.
so that we could attack, the most important things first.
We really are without money to do things, so.
Well, and that's where it has
You just
to come from that grant in order to
Right.
do that. And
Mhm.
hopefully, they keep saying that energy resilience grant could be anywhere from $250,000 to $500,000. And again, geared toward really small towns like ours that just don't have the capacity to, whatever it might be, really make our buildings more energy efficient.
Wow,
That would be a huge help in the garage.
It's not a matching grant.
Well, let's see.
The mini grant is.
I think the mini grant was 10%. I don't have it written down, I'm sorry. It's anywhere from 10 to 25% are the matches. I think most of them have said 10, other than the generator grant, right, Chris?
I think so. Budget for everybody.
Yep.
Health insurance renewal.
So it's that time of year when health insurance needs to be renewed. I have not heard back from Brad. I did ask him to do a side-by-side like he did last year between Blue Cross and MVP. I got the chart for MVP, but I don't know that it helps much not to have. I got the chart for Blue Cross Blue Shield. I don't know if it helps at all to not have the other one to kind of look and see what there is. We're looking at, I think, 12% increase across the board. It's what the state approved, that they increase all of their plans. So we'll see what he has to say in terms of maybe there are other plans, other options. Health insurance is not gonna get any cheaper.
Yeah, and I read, didn't we switch companies last year? I heard that the prices, the one that was cheaper last year is gonna be more expensive, but so we'll wait and see.
And how did everyone, well, we have two people here, how did you like the?
Did you notice a
It
difference?
definitely is not as smooth as MVP was.
Oh,
There's
interesting.
been a lot of bills come through that looks like you owe something, but I guess if you wait on it long enough, finally they get taken care of.
The part of when things came out of the HRA seemed a little smoother, but it really depended on the provider.
Right.
Like if the provider either, I guess, is maybe an in-network or is somebody that knows how to do the Blue Cross thing, like they'd send a bill through the pipeline, Blue Cross would credit it toward your deductible and then automatically put it through to your HRA and you'd never see a thing. But when there's a delay, like with a hospital, they are firing off invoices like crazy, so you get all these invoices thinking you owe us all this money, and then come to find out, they never put it through A, the insurance company, and B, sent it on to the HRA, which should have paid for it, so, I mean, all of us had this experience, we're paying bills that none of us owed, because it should have been coming out of the HRA, and it took a lot of work to untangle it and straighten it out.
You just have to be patient is kind of what it comes down to.
Right,
And
yeah.
just kind of wait it out, but typically you get a bill, and if you get a bill twice,
Right,
You
you
wanna
think
pay
you
it,
need to
and I
pay
gotta
it,
pay
well,
this,
and you think
you
you
know?
need to.
But then, I don't know, we haven't set up the portal thing, but every Josh and Daryl have, and he said if you go in, it's a little easier to follow that way. You can see that things are either pending or paid, where you might have a bill sitting on the island, but yet you look there and it's taken care of, you just haven't gotten
Right.
it clear yet.
Yeah, so that is a good thing, and yeah, the portal for sure, was a big help, and I will say versus MVP reimbursements, so things that you're standing somewhere and you have to pay for it yourself. The reimbursement process was really pretty quick and seamless. I mean, I got reimbursed right away, except for one case where I had to, I don't know, explain the receipt a little bit better or something. The downside, so the other side of that is although that's seamless, there are more things I found that I had to pay for because the card that's hooked to the HRA is much more limited than it was with MVP.
Is it only prescriptions?
It'll only let you do it for prescriptions. And actually, in one place, their system was broken, so the card wasn't working anyway, so I had to pay $400 out of my pocket for prescriptions and then wait for reimbursement. But that wasn't on Blue Cross really. But with MVP, you could actually pay for, so we have, vision out-of-pockets are covered with this card through MVP. Blue Cross doesn't do that, you have to go through the reimbursement process. So it was different.
We might be recommended to switch back, so.
I feel like if you wait it out, things get smoother.
He did mention that last year. He said that the cheaper one can become the more expensive one
Yeah.
just over the course of a year.
It's like anything.
Yeah.
Right, and I think if I remember correctly, the group, whoever it is that approves how much they can raise their rates, I thought initially that Blue Cross, they had approved Blue Cross for a lower increase than MVP. And then even those numbers came through a little bit differently once Brad was sending them along. But we're talking double digits no matter who we go through.
Which was the same as the previous year too.
For the last 10 years.
Continuing every year with an increase like that.
Yeah. Oh, and look, Brad just emailed me.
But you guys, it would be easier to stay with the same company rather than flip-flopping all the time. I'm assuming
What I
that
was getting, that's
yeah.
what I think.
it's hard to get used to
And
one
from
in
the
a year's
administrator?
time.
Yeah.
From the administrator, it's a lot easier to stay with them. So I can read these off, Brad just sent them. So our current is this plan. To renew is an 11% increase.
Wow.
A similar plan from MVP is actually a 12% increase.
Oh, okay.
But what I'll do is also look at other plans, so although we have this plan, maybe there's another plan that maybe is less expensive, and we'll just see what the numbers look like, so I'll look at those and get like the full chart so we can really take a look next time. Do you want Brad to zoom into a meeting at all? Do you feel like you wanna talk to him, or? I doubt, he probably isn't available to drive down, he works out of Lewiston.
Do we have time to wait to see if he recommends something to you and then you tell us and then we could see if we're confused enough or?
Yeah, I can ask him what his recommendation is.
And can we also check with the rest of the crew and see if they are, what their feelings are? Would they like
Yeah,
to
for
stick
sure.
with the same?
Yeah.
You know, how do they feel about that too? Cause it's good to have the input of the people that are.
But by the sounds, it would be hard to switch if it's gonna be more expensive to
Right.
switch. So if it was, we went with Blue Cross because it was the same coverage on paper and it was cheaper than MVP, and if their increase is more, then it's obviously still gonna be more expensive to switch back. And like Charlie said, switching back and forth is not beneficial.
No,
It's not.
well, it's confusing too.
Absolutely.
And the deductible is higher, I'm looking at,
That was another thing that came into that discussion last year.
the employee out-of-pocket max is the same, but yeah, the deductible is $600 higher with MVP. The monthly rates though are slightly lower. So the difference in a family plan with Blue Cross, MVP is $9 less. And employee plus one is $7 less. So there's a higher deductible, but the monthly premium is $8 less. Anything else?
But that still doesn't equal 600 in over a year's time.
So the overall dollar, so to move over to MVP, the overall, it would be $300 less in the course of a full year if we move to MVP. And like I said, their deductibles are higher.
Well, we'll see what Brad says.
Right.
Yes, thank you.
Always the garage road commissioners report. We pretty well went over it in the flood. The only other thing is, there's supposed to be pavement tomorrow, right?
They're here, finally.
They're here.
We've done some, we've done the little stuff, so they don't have to. The paper doesn't have time to do the little stuff that we have. So we probably got another day or two of just patches. A lot is over here from the generator job that was done.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we'll get the big stuff done in the next few days.
So, that was, people discussed that.
Thanks for finding time to haul some of that sand.
It helped, you
Yeah.
know, it definitely helped.
Yeah. Yeah, but the 3 didn't look as bad as I thought it was gonna.
Yeah.
Bad enough. Road reclassification discussion. We're meeting in a week to talk about the first one. But Charlie's got a list for us. A lot
Of different
And
ideas.
I'm not saying they all need to be reclassified, but I think that they definitely should be looked at.
Did we, what is, has the Schmidt Road reclassification, is that something that we're doing?
Schmidt?
Yeah, the one that cost $200,000
No,
to
it's
fix.
not on the list, I don't believe.
Is there,
We tried to mark the class 3s that have one house. just
oh, I
to
see,
kind of look at-
I've never been up that road.
Right.
There's other houses.
There's essentially 2 houses on that road, and then there's another, I don't even know what Sears Road is considered,
It's a
Trail?
deeded right of way.
deeded right of way to another, so
Oh, I see.
3 access it from that road,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
3 off from it. So we really only marked down the ones that, we call them glorified driveways.
So we're looking at Gulf Road and Markham Road? Are those-
Does your list have any, is it just a list or do you have like ones that you're?
No, it was just a list, just
Okay.
pull them together and
Do you have the list?
Jeanette has it,
Oh,
yeah, she's
There
getting
we
it.
go.
I was just gonna, I'll call them out to you and see if.
There's quite a few, one house roads, and then there's quite a few 2 house roads.
So Charlie Davis,
Yep,
Biancanello.
Yep.
Blanchard.
Yep.
I added Forbes.
Forbes is, well, Jeremy's building, so I mean, it'll be 2. The old
I don't
I don't have any
Forbes
official paperwork.
building. No, I know, I'm just,
Blanchard's got at least 3 different, like,
just one house, there is a camp way
Yeah.
out, and
And
then
there's-
Barry has a sawmill.
and there's a
And
maple
access.
syrup operation too.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, I'll
there
make
is a-
copies. I was just
yeah.
gonna make sure I got the roads marked
But
across.
he's got them just with one residence. That's
That's
one,
what I
it
marked.
has one residence
Right,
off of it.
right.
So Marsh Cross,
It's 0, there's no houses.
Kadair. Was I remembering that
It's
one?
just one,
Red Top,
just one,
Christmas Tree,
just one,
Israel.
just one.
Thin
And it's
Hill.
not even on the part that we maintain. That's a really funky one because
That's one I
we
think
do
should
like
be on the top of the list because
100
it's
yards
just,
and
it makes,
there's no benefit to the town at all.
it makes no sense in my opinion. I mean,
I
Yeah.
know we get a tiny bit of money from the state, and Jeanette looked into the mileage of a lot of these roads. But for the amount of work that goes into these small roads, the return is, you're not getting anything out of it. Especially after these events that we've been having fairly regularly.
so some of them are class 3 and some of them are class 4 on that list. Because
They're
Marsh,
all class 3 on the list. I didn't put down any class 4 roads.
so Marsh Cross should be taken off that because
Marsh
that's
Street.
a,
That's a
It's a
class.
3.
It's a 3.
Is there?
It's not winter maintained, so by the standard, it should be plowed in the wintertime. And I don't believe they've ever plowed it, so I was running the snowmobile trip.
yeah,
Which is
So
why we
this
should
is where we get into
declassify it.
this.
yeah, I didn't realize
We just
that.
keep things the way they are because it's easy and it's always been that way. That's what happened on the old Gulf Front one because
Yeah,
I started kind of opening my eyes like 7-ish years ago and bringing it up to the select boards then. But I didn't know that it was solely up to the select board. That was just brought to my attention this year from Mark Pickering, who was our district supervisor for the state. And he said, no, it's solely up to the select board to make that decision. Because before Mrs. Holloway passed away, I could see that if that sold and somebody wants it plowed, and it's not a road that we have equipment to plow, it's too
So,
small.
so it seems like we could divide it into another category of roads that maybe could be declassified that are actually impossible for the town to maintain up to specs, and
No,
that,
exactly, those
that's
would be,
Gulf,
say your high priority.
so that's
roads.
Gulf Road, but Is Markham Road the same?
Markham Mountain Road is a fair size wider, like you can actually get rid of the snow on that road where you can on Gulf Road, so it does,
So that's not the same category?
it's not the same, but
You have to
if
remember
somebody
that,
builds there and they say, we want you to bring it up to the standard, the road would have to be widened out, the drainage would have to be changed.
it's not just plowing, it's the ditching.
There's a lot more to it than just getting rid of the snow during the winter time.
So are Gulf and Markham the only ones that are in that category of not, that would take a
like-
huge?
Israel Road, there's no,
Israel Road, which
same, that's the
there
same,
to plow.
same thing, you can't push any snow really uphill, and to be widened to, like, if somebody wanted it brought up to specs, that would be,
There is I did I don't know if it's 5-year plan or 10-year plan back a number of years ago, it's still pinned on the bulletin board, and that's one of the projects that we haven't got to, that was on there, was cutting some trees, stumping, widen Israel Road out to give us a place for snow.
Yeah.
Which you could do that, but at a cost to the town, of course.
So the town doesn't maintain that in the winter then?
yes.
Oh, we plow it,
Yeah.
okay, but it's problematic.
It is.
Do we have to be concerned with what the taxes on these houses and people calling in and saying, hey,
That,
if you're not
any
maintaining it?
declassification, everybody gets a notice and is able to speak their mind
And
or
yeah,
come to the.
there's a grievance process
Yeah.
if they so choose.
Right.
But at the end of the day, after the meeting, it's
I mean, I'd
entirely up
put-
to you guys.
I'd put Marsh Cross Road right on that list with Gulf Road then because it is a class 3 road. I mean, it technically is, it
Right.
hasn't been plowed in
Right.
20-some years and the snowmobile club doesn't want it plowed.
Right.
I mean, and that road itself to be widened would be a bear too. If it had to be widened, there's nowhere to go.
No, that's exactly right.
Right, no, I agree.
You kind of have to do how I say, like, good faith. You have to, in my opinion, like Old Gulf Road, we put a fair amount of time and money into over the last number of years. A lot of that wrap that we had here went on it, so it's almost a paved road.
Yeah.
The culverts are good, the ditches are pretty good. So I wouldn't feel like we're trying to like burden somebody,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak. It's not like we're gonna throw a road up that needs a ton of work.
But it still will be a town
They would just have to find
road.
out a way to,
Yeah.
it's still gonna be a town road.
Yeah.
They just have to do the maintenance.
And then
Because we don't
Charlie,
maintain class 4s.
I also have Finn Hill and Old Boynton that finish out that list.
So that makes that, is that 11?
And a lot of those roads, Simmons too. A lot of those roads, there's not even a good spot to get turned around in the winter.
Red Top.
We've tried
Yeah.
to better it over the years, but you're limited, you're in somebody's yard.
Same with Red Top. Now they live there full time. I bet it's hard to turn around up there.
It isn't, if they can park out of the way and it's fine, it's
Yeah.
okay, it's easier, I should say, it's not really fine, but it's easier. And she's done well, but when they were doing the construction, it was really tough.
And some of these homeowners may like to hear that it'll deter some traffic. I mean, but we would hear from any landowner, they would get notified.
I think a lot of people like that we maintain the road, but they don't want people to be able to
Don't want
show
people
in the
driving
yards.
up.
You want the best
Right.
of both, and you really can't do that.
Mhm.
And that's what was happening on Steinley Road.
Yep.
People are going right to their yard and turning around and they have goats and dogs and,
But are they being taxed as if they have town maintained roads?
No,
no,
that's
it's
not,
all,
that is
it's a
not
parcel
anything in
thing.
the database.
Yeah,
It isn't.
But I would think that, like, for somebody that's bought a property recently, that would have been taken into account in the value of the property. I mean, I'm sitting here with very mixed emotions, feeling
Yeah,
like, well, that's
yeah.
like a sacrament, like a sacrament that the town has always plowed these roads. I can just imagine being like in shock if my road were being mentioned right now.
right,
So I think
I
it's
would've
something we'll
asked
have to
that question.
discuss a lot.
yeah.
But
I
none of-
talked to the land trust and I
Yeah.
said, wouldn't you have asked that question? Cause to look at that road, you wouldn't think, for instance, Middletown Road, North Hill, these beautiful wide roads are class 3 roads.
Really?
Yeah.
Middletown Road is class?
Yeah, class
Oh,
three.
yeah, okay,
So in
sorry, yeah, of
comparison to
course.
this little go
Yeah,
back
yeah.
you guys will see next week, I mean,
Right.
anybody, if I was looking at purchasing it, and maybe I have a different mindset because of what I do for a living, but I would ask the question, like, is this thing plowed? I don't know. 40, I don't, maybe it got a hole poked here and there by the grader years ago before the trees grew up big, but at least 40 years, it was the
No,
last
it's plowed
time
in
it
the
was probably
70s.
plowed.
Yeah, that's 50 years.
50 years, so.
It hasn't been plowed
it's
since the
never-
70s.
And I talked to, of course, the only one I can call now is Ralph.
Yeah.
And he said he tried to have the thing thrown up back in 96 or something.
But anybody will get the chance. We shouldn't speak for anybody if
Right,
they're, whether
right.
they want it or don't.
Right.
They'll get a warning and they'll be able to speak their mind
Right.
or their piece. Because we heard from a homeowner that wants a road thrown up, but he voluntarily would like a road thrown up. I mean, there's different sides to the story, and to hear from them before making assumptions would be.
And the reason I asked about the taxes is because I had once asked about living on a private road, and I was told that living on a private road, actually, your taxes are higher because it's desirable than a town road being plowed,
Right.
which,
I mean, it
But
makes
if that's
sense,
not
but it's not a
actually true-
factor. I've never heard of it. being a
well,
factor.
yeah, I was told it was.
What, oh, sorry.
But that was years ago, so maybe.
But this road right here, the town pays someone to maintain Christmas Tree Road. You guys don't go over and plow that.
Well, I know we don't, and we haven't since I've been here. I think we used to plow just the plow guy to take care of it, and I don't know what it was, or even if Jeanette would know. And now I think, because the only place to get turned around is on our end, I think Wyndham just plows up and turns around and leaves.
Yep.
Kind of the same thing with Far Road.
That road is the same owner owns both places out
Right,
there, yeah.
right. But we've never done anything on Far.
Yeah.
Because
That's
for
true,
us
that
to
one too.
drive all the way out, miles across Chester's roads to get to our little piece that we have, so they just plow and take care of it.
What about, at East Hill Farm, at Johnny Bliss's,
Yep,
doesn't the town maintain
we do,
that?
yep. we
So-
do.
So,
But we don't go down what they call Wall Road,
no, but I mean,
we just do the loop.
You do the loop.
Yep.
well, that's an interesting situation right
Yeah,
there.
again,
That they might actually prefer that not be a public road.
I wanted to put a road sign up there, so it's a little off topic, and I talked to John, and he rather that we didn't because he thought it would invite more people to take the road.
Well, if it's a publicly maintained road,
Right. So there, it kind of shows you the other side of it.
Can't imagine Red Top wouldn't want to sell up.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean,
it would be very expensive to have to all of a sudden start, I'd be like,
road maintenance, we maintain a long road, and I know it's very expensive, I know.
Big expense.
The time involved.
The time and the expense.
yeah, if you don't have your.
But that one alone is probably one of
Even
the
if
only
you
ones
do.
we're talking about where it's plenty wide and it can be wider
Again,
with
that's
no,
the thing, you could
one-
make it.
Red Top has room on both sides. The drainage has gotta be no problem, yeah.
Field, so you could widen it out.
There's no trees on that
Right.
road, there's
But it
no,
seems like we should be looking at all of them, not just,
Yeah, so,
well, I'm trying to looking down through the
Right.
list and the
What
ones
would
that
be
make
the-
sense, we've really touched base on to start with, and that is the ones that you're saying, like, it's impossible to make them that wide without extensive work.
it sounds like we would only save $50,000 a year for all those roads together, is that,
I don't know.
why does it
that's the
say?
money.
No,
that
that's
we
the
have.
money the
That's the
state
money the
pays,
state
that's it.
pays.
That's the
Oh, that's
income-
the money the state,
That's the income that we are getting this fiscal year
Oh.
for our class 3 roads.
I see,
So the
okay.
number below that is we have 30.57 miles of class 3 roads. So the dollars per mile is $16.2987. So the total of all of these roads, and I just totaled it, you don't have to, but the total of all of these roads, if they were to not be class 3, is 2.81. So if you multiply 1629.87 by 2.81, you get $4,580 would be our reduction in our state gas tax income. If they were all class 4 roads instead of 3.
but that, do we know how much money we would save? We don't know how much money we would save by not maintaining them because there's maintenance, it's not just plowing. Yeah, so it's and
some of them aren't maintained at all in the winter now.
But if they were brought up to specs, how much would that cost? I mean, that would be very, very pricey.
I don't see why
Much.
Forbes Road is on there because there's two different,
There's one house,
well, there's two houses. I mean,
there's one residence.
Yeah, we're just
The
trying
other
to
house
mark
is
out one
empty.
residence. They're gonna be tearing down the old Forbes
Right.
place. There's nobody
So we
there.
were
So
looking
you
at,
can-
just
you couldn't-
again, trying to be objective, there's one residence on that road at this point in time, and it's really hard for the guys to turn around where they turn around.
and what about Newton Road? Isn't there just one house up there?
No, there's two there again, yeah. There's one all the way at the end and then there's Mario's about 2/3 of the way up on the right.
So the ones that are not up to standards, which is are on the right, would be Markham, Marsh Cross Road, and Israel Road. Those would be the ones that are not up to
That
standards.
I would consider to be the top of the line. I don't know, I think Jeanette had a map that just came through that showed some that they call, they're labeled nuts, not up to standard. Or not up to the standard.
Yeah. And obviously Gulf.
I don't know if
Road.
those fell on there or not. And honestly, a lot of people don't even know that Old Gulf Road is a town road. Cause to get through it, you have to drive through the campground. So it's not like you're just gonna stumble.
And that is a town road from the
Yeah.
campground all the way through.
Yeah.
I've been
Correct.
kicked off that road before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you can't.
Wow.
And you don't have to stop either. You can drive through.
I had somebody pull out a gun and say, "You better get out of here."
Ouch.
Oh my God.
But you drove,
Campground end?
but you
No,
drove
the other end.
Oh, well,
straight.
the other end is not a town
Well,
road.
it depends on how far she went up.
You mean coming from East Hill, way up
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, that got thrown up.
Oh, that.
That's thrown up.
That is just someone's right of way to their property.
It used to go through, but it doesn't. That one was thrown
Yeah,
up how
so we
many
didn't
years
go
ago?
down there.
I
Yeah.
don't even know now, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it's called two different things on each
Gulf
end.
Road North,
Yeah.
Gulf Road South.
But that's
Well,
not
I turn
even a
around
town,
that.
that's not even like an ancient road town right away, that the one going up. Oh,
No.
wow, it's just a private property.
Up to the Holloway's place is private. It's the I don't know where it turns. And the
No, I
other
mean
road
from-
that used to
She's
go
talking
through.
the other end.
I mean, from Holloway's up to by Lovejoy,
Oh.
that's still a public right of way, isn't it?
I don't know the
I-
answer to
that's
that.
where-
That's what she was just
Right,
talking
It
about.
that's
got
where I'm
thrown-
talking
It got
about.
thrown up, so no.
Oh,
It's just a
really?
right of
It
way.
wasn't turned into a legal trail, it was
Oh my
thrown up.
goodness, I didn't know that.
At the time, there was a sign that said
there's still a sign.
that it was
Right.
it was a road
Yeah.
we could access, so it wasn't like.
Right, and
weeds.
Hank came 3 or 4 years ago and asked about it, and Jonathan looked into it, and it was thrown up in like
Yeah.
the early 1900s.
Really?
So what are your recommendations with Markham Lane?
Um,
What do you
I'd,
think?
I'd like to see it come down to a 4.
And same with Israel Road, and obviously I'm speaking for her, but Marsh Cross Road because everybody's under the
Yes,
assumption it was already a
See, I've
4.
never thought about Marsh Cross Road because there's no houses, it's never been plowed that
Yeah.
I know of for many, many, many years, but,
It should go on that list while we're at it.
and it kind of goes back to what you were talking about is right now, there's no residents on it.
But
So why wait until, they sell a couple parcels and then say, well, now we wanna make it a 4. If we're gonna do this, we gotta do it as gently as we can and as proper as we can.
Mhm. Oh, absolutely.
And I know there's gonna be hurt feelings, sure.
Yeah. And
Um,
no decision's made to have a site visit. I mean, there's no decision made at a site visit, and you get to hear everybody's.
no.
point
I
of view.
think to the board that, to any members that haven't been out there, it'll be kinda eye-opening as far as, wow, like, how would you really be able to plow it? It's extremely narrow and it's a almost vertical bank to the right, just behind a small ditch, and then there's a brook on the left. It falls off 5 or 6 feet to the road.
the Gulf Road.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think there's any question.
tiny little road.
I mean, I can't imagine, well, unless Codere Road is really wants privacy, boy, that would be a huge hardship to
And-
stop plowing that.
Yeah,
This is just a list to look at
Yeah.
the ones that have.
Yeah.
Nobody's saying that they're
No,
Yeah.
that's
declassified.
why I don't think that you necessarily have to look at them all. I think we need to prioritize them all,
Yeah,
but not put them all on the chopping block, so to speak. I think we just need to look at it.
So we should maybe think about making some site visits to Markham and Israel and Marsh Cross before it gets to be too
Too
wintry.
late in the season, yeah.
Let's do it all at the same
Yeah, I
time.
was
They're
just
not
gonna
too
say,
far away.
They're all right
Meet that
next to
day
one
if you
another,
wanted
right?
to-
What's that?
They're all very close to one another.
Yeah, just Markham is
Yeah.
on Middletown Road, and the other two are right. We've got to drive by Marsh Cross Road to get to Israel Road.
Right.
And those would just be site visits for possible declassification. There's no, like I
So
said,
can
no
we
decision
add that
made.
to our,
It has to be like a 3 weeks or 4 weeks notified,
30
right?
days.
30 days, yeah.
Oh,
So
so
it's
we
a
can't-
month.
we can add it to our next site.
Right,
No,
but
you
if
have
we
to be
wanna
a
do
month
it
out.
before winter, we could put it on a list.
Here's just a quick, I'll just read this. This was an email from, was it through Megan that sent that, or from somebody else, about talking about the classifications?
Yep.
So this is for class 3. It just says, the minimum standards for class 3 highways are highway negotiable under normal conditions all seasons of the year by a standard manufactured pleasure car. This would include sufficient surface and base, adequate drainage, and sufficient width capable to provide winter maintenance. So that's the catch, is that last winter maintenance piece. Because a pleasure car, nowadays, you see pleasure cars where they shouldn't be, they can drive, but it's the winter maintenance piece, for sure.
How would we, is it like something you'd talk about at town meeting and just kind of put out the information that if there's anybody who actually wants their road to be privatized, they should let us know, or?
I think we said we would contact all the people on the list
No,
and do it that way.
But like Charlie said, I think we should start with those
Yeah.
few that we listed, not, this list is just
Yeah.
literally saying which one have one residence. It doesn't mean anybody's road's getting thrown up.
No, it was just
Right.
classifying them into.
It's a list of one resident road is all it is. Or no residents, as Marsh Cross Road.
Yeah, months, the Thanksgiving week.
It would be pushing it into, that's winter months, end of November would be when, yeah.
We can do it, but we have to have snowshoes.
yeah,
So we're gonna go do the Gulf Road thing at 4:30 next Monday, is that
Yes.
right? And then how soon after that can we have a hearing about it?
It's directly after here. We go
So
from
those
there to
people have
here.
been warned, so anybody who wants to come to discuss it will have to be here.
Correct.
Okay.
So the earliest, like Chris said, would be the Monday after Thanksgiving, cause that's not gonna be, right?
Yeah.
So that's,
Well, we should
that'd be the
schedule it.
27th of November. Is that that's a meeting?
That's a meeting day.
And it gets dark at 5 o'clock that time of day.
Yeah.
So it's not possible to go to all three unless we
Visit them all.
did it at a different, I don't think it's gonna be possible to go to maybe one before it gets dark if we,
Well, maybe we could prioritize Markham there, cause it seems like that's the one that's,
well, I'd like to see us go up to Israel Road too, because of how much of a pain that is.
no, I mean, if we can only do one on that day.
Couldn't we do both, Israel and Markham
We
that
just
day?
start at 4.
'Cause they're,
I'm saying we could probably see if we could even start early. You guys get out at 2 normally?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's back 3-ish.
Well, I'm available earlier if enough of us are.
that is school out, is that Thanksgiving
No,
That's
that'd be
after-
back in.
after they're back in?
Monday works good for me. I could do earlier.
Oh, okay.
No, we can do
Well, like what?
Is 3 o'clock too early for everybody? Is
No,
that
that'll
means
It's fine with me.
Works.
that's enough
Does that
time
work for you?
to visit all
Yeah,
three?
that's fine.
Oh, I think that,
okay,
So we're Markham, Israel, and Marsh Cross,
sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's still the 30th? Is that?
27.
27.
27.
Where do we meet? Which one should we start at? Like Israel or something?
No, I would say meet at Markham because
Okay.
then you go back to if somebody only wants to come to one, right? Maybe.
Okay.
Are you all interested in looking at them all?
We have
Yeah,
to
we
be
have
at
to
them
all
for
three.
the
Yeah.
public hearing reason.
You have
We have to be there
So if you
for,
wanted to, alright, so.
But we have to have a quorum, that's all.
Yeah, okay.
so if we started at
If you
Markham,
guys wanna do it, just let me know and I'll.
if we started at Markham Lane at 3,
Okay,
anybody could come to that while we're there, and then if not, we just go work our way that way.
Right, I mean,
Yes.
the-
You'll see that on Israel Road, we
Marsh
can't even put
Cross
4 vehicles
is-
on Israel Road.
who's gonna be there?
What's that?
Marsh Cross.
Yeah, but
who's
we
gonna-
have to,
Right, but
Same
I'm
as-
just saying, as far as, I mean, we all will know, I mean, that's just, there's no houses there, there's no.
it's just the really long steep ski
Yes.
run.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
it's the snowmobile
It's the
trail, most
snowmobile
people
trail.
don't even know it's a road
No.
because they go across it on a snowmobile.
Right,
Here's the farm road.
Yeah,
So we could just
exactly.
do a drive-by, we don't have to get.
Well, we have to be there so that everybody
So
can,
that anyone
anybody
else
that has
can-
an issue
yeah.
with it can have a chance. And like the Chester Snowmobile Club, they ask for permission to use the roads every year. That's one of the ones they ask for permission, so. Which they still will, but.
So make a motion to actually do that?
Yeah, I make a motion, we warn it, however, we're supposed to officially do it, and meet at Markham at 3 on November 27th.
A second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
bring your snowshoes.
And then go to Israel and Marsh Cross.
I think that's a great plan.
Thank you, Charlie.
Yes,
Thanks,
thank you.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
no
thank
problem.
you.
Hopefully
Thank
it filtered some things out for you, but until you get your eyes on it, you just don't know.
Well, I'm gonna go travel around in my Jeep, check it
Yeah,
all out.
exactly.
They're all, now that I know they're all down roads,
Right,
you know, I can,
cruise around.
Cruise
Well,
around.
You can class 4,
right,
and you can go until like December 15th or something like that,
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, old business. Don't have any financial orders.
Oh, God.
tired.
So you guys don't think you need it for anything.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Have a good night, guys.
You too.
Thanks.
That one.
Get out of the winter. I think that one's done, I think. Put it back that way. See, you're doing it.
I'm tired too.
Any correspondence in there?
No, there is not.
I'm good. Short.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
A second.
All those in favor?
And I,